Today, I'm joined by Alex Colley, founder and creative director of Icon. It's almost like this is the third time I've done this intro. Well, the reason is it was because I forgot to press record the first two times. Luckily, Alex, being the professional he is, he forgave me and he said, okay, just do it, just do it. So Alex is the founder and creative director of Icon, who are a branding and creative agency. His clients include Cartier, Westfield, Porsche, and F1. Icon is a company Alex founded in 2011. The first thing you see on their lovely website is, I love this tagline, imagine the possibilities. One of the things that he posted that I really wanted to follow up with him, and he graciously allowed us to talk to him, is about your social selling index and tips on how to essentially be the 1% in your industry. So firstly, welcome to the talk, Alex. Thank you for your time. On the screen, I'm going to have the post that you posted on LinkedIn a week ago. Let me just put this up here. And in this, you speak about your social selling index and also top 10 tips on how you have managed your LinkedIn. Could you tell us a bit more about, how this came about and, just your experience with LinkedIn and, how that's worked for you?
Yeah, well, I think the main thing is even more recently realizing how important your network is to generate work and leads. So probably over the past year, I've been more active than ever on LinkedIn, but trying to figure out ways to promote Icon and myself personally. And that's just come in the form of trying to practice good copywriting and understanding, what kind of content people do emotionally respond to. But I think the main thing I've learned with LinkedIn is, well, even after LinkedIn, is kind of like understanding how important copy is. One, when you write posts for social. Two, like in day-to-day work, we're always communicating by email, so copy is important. And then even in the brand work that we do, there was a post the other day, and I'm a big advocate for this, paying as much importance to the copy as the visuals. And I think it's the visuals that attract and it's the copy that sells.
Wow.
So personally, I've studied copywriting, I've read books on copywriting, all to kind of help, not just in my job, but just, to promote and market Icon.
Any top books that anyone, like for example, myself, I've read my fair, range of books on marketing. Are there any books that I should look out for when it comes to copywriting, and any recommendations?
Yeah, there's a couple that actually I've got here.
This was not set up, by the way. So
this is one of Writing That Works, and there's a D&AD copybook. Some of the best advertising writers in the world write advertising.
One of the things I love in this post is your number 9, Google's brain dump. When you're a busy person or when you're a creative person, you have thousands of ideas going through your head. How do you actually channel it into what goes on LinkedIn, what shouldn't go on LinkedIn? Any top tips on that?
Yeah, so in the past, I think it's similar to brand strategy. It's kind of understanding like the pillars that you want to talk around, what you want to be known for, not just in a personal sense, but as a brand or a business too. And then in terms of having like a Google Docs for a brain dump, I often listen to audiobooks in the morning. So instead of watching TV while I'm sort of getting organised, I get out my phone, get onto Google Docs and just start typing instead of... No, I think the main thing I've been trying to do is stop consuming and start creating. I think that's the biggest part of it, is actually just get your thoughts down so you can go back to it at a later date, because that's part of the problem. You might get an idea late at night, early in the morning, in the shower, but if you wait until you sit down in front of a screen to actually write that, you've probably forgotten where the idea came from in the first place.
Yeah, I get some of my best ideas when I'm literally doing anything but work, and I have like a setup on my phone where I just quickly jot down the notes. I'm sad enough to just have a folder dedicated to LinkedIn ideas on my phone, which is pretty poor probably because my LinkedIn posts are all over the place, but I'm trying my best to kind of at least bring something that I think will add value to people. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, number 10, virality is not a strategy. It may make you feel good temporarily, but consistent effort compounds. Could you tell us a bit more about what you meant by that?
Yeah, no, I actually screenshotted a post recently. I think it had over 3,000 likes, but then you visited their profile and they had about 400 followers. So I think when I started LinkedIn, you always want your post to go viral, probably to make you feel good and tell people that you've had a viral post. But essentially that's not marketing. And I think that's one thing I've learned over the years is kind of the small consistency and positioning in someone's mind It doesn't happen like once and they remember you and then they come back to you. Like it needs to be constantly repeated over and over again until you draw that position into their mind. There's another good book actually. It's by Al Rees. It's called Positioning for the Mind.
This isn't Alex. Honestly, I literally have that book on my top of the list.
Yeah, it was. I saw a post from Julian Hearn, who runs Huel, and he said after reading that book, it was one of the books that helped him kind of sort of create and position Huel as a kind of in its own category in itself. So I think learn from that, along with all the copy lessons, like it's really understanding how you can position yourself in the mind of your audience, of what you want to be known for. Like, so I see it as kind of like the intersection of both. It's like, how can you get the engagement from a post, but also have that position in someone's mind that you're an expert in your field or your industry.
But you know, Alex, I a quick question for you. Like, how do you differentiate between a post that you put up, which has been put up, made with crafted with a lot of thought and attention and love, versus putting up content which is kind of top of mind? Or can those things be mutually exclusive? Like top of mind content, which just reminds your, 2,000 connections on LinkedIn, hey, look, we exist, talk to me, versus here's a piece that I, kind of labored over a few weeks or months, and actually this is what I've created.
Yeah, I think, again, it needs to be the balance of both, because if you don't post enough, you're never going to be top of mind. But if you post too much, you would just annoy people, and then you still need to treat your audience with respect. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, is really a keen filter on who's let into the connections. You see some connections with some people with 10,000 connections, but they get 2 likes on a post. So it's either the fact that they've connected with these people and they don't even want to know, they just want to show people they got 10,000 followers, or their content's not been thought about for people to actually respond to that content. So instead of collecting followers now, more wary of who they are and if I'm likely to. So unless they're going to teach me something, or potentially they're another creative I can learn from, or potentially someone to do business with, then like taking a more filtered approach to who your audience are, I think is key. I'd rather 3,000 engaged people than 10,000 that don't engage at all.
Anyone who spent any meaningful time on LinkedIn, who uses it as a tool, has that kind of respect of, okay, I respect my audience or people who follow me to not just fill it up with complete crap. And, the approach I've been taking has been, we want to be top of mind with our connections, of course, and this is why I'm doing things like this, but also I want to put stuff that I can stand back, and stand behind and say, yep, I still, I mean everything I put out there, and I stand, wholeheartedly behind it. If someone were to start on LinkedIn from scratch, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I've worked with a few people in the past that have really helped. I've taken a few courses from people who've really done well to build their audience on LinkedIn, and I think the key is, again, like I said, similar to a brand strategy, is kind of planning out like who your audience is, what kind of topics you need to talk about to position yourself as an expert in your industry, and then trying to make interesting content. Like I said, you don't bore people's business with you. It's trying to find a narrative in what you do and trying to link that back to your business, which is quite a difficult balance. But I do have time for a little bit of sort of like personal stories within it, but typically only if it's linked back to the business, as opposed to kind of like, like my wife lost her mum to cancer when she was younger, but is that relevant for LinkedIn? Probably not. It's sad, but
the thing is, Alex, I mean, I think because I respect LinkedIn so much and I respect my connections so much, I hate seeing this kind of thing, which is deliberately made to kind of almost be a clickbait, which seemingly has a very personal or sad story attached to it, which is true. And, we all suffer because we're human beings. But it's what I get pissed off about is when someone deliberately uses that as a strategy to kind of suck you in. And there's one person I know who actually writes about this, some tragedy he's going through. And in the bottom, it literally is shameless. It just says, if you want to talk about this, then talk to me. And I'm like, this post has nothing to do with what you said. Why don't you just write this up? And I've just unfollowed the person just because I just think it's so shameless. It's very, very tone deaf. And I mean, of course, I wish this person all the best, but it was just like, my God, has this person got no shame? And I was like, no. And I just left it at that. Thank you so much for your time, Alex. How can people get in touch with you if they wanted to find out more?
Yeah, so through the website, the website's icon.london, or LinkedIn, email alex@icon.london.
Cool. I will link both those to the bottom. Thank you very much for your time, Alex.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.